There are decisions you make on a Tuesday morning that don't feel like decisions at all. They feel like progress, like the smart move everyone's been telling you to make, like finally catching up to where you should have been 3 years ago. And then 18 months later, you're standing in your own machine shed, watching strangers tie auction numbers to equipment that's got your father's initials scratched into the toolbox. This is what happened to Derek Holloway, 52 years old, third-generation farmer, 2,400 acres of corn and beans outside of Shelbyville, Illinois. His grandfather broke that ground with a farmall. His father expanded it with 3 Massey Ferguson 1080s that he ran until the transmissions grenaded, and he still made money. Derek grew up different. He didn't worship iron the way his father did. He watched spreadsheets. He tracked depreciating assets. He read agronomic journals. He understood that equipment was a tool, not a religion. And for 19 years, that approach worked. He ran 2 tractors. A Massey Ferguson 7720 he bought used in 2009 with 4,800 hours already on it, and a smaller 6480 for loader work and spraying. The 7720 was his workhorse. Every spring, every fall, tillage, planting, grain cart, everything that mattered ran through that Massey Ferguson. By 2023, the 7720 had 9,000 hours. It leaked a little hydraulic fluid from the rear remote. The cab door didn't seal perfect anymore. The paint was sun-faded on the hood where 14 Illinois summers had baked it. But it ran, every morning, every field, every year. Derek's fuel guy used to joke that the 7720 started faster than Derek's truck. His mechanic said the engine had another 5,000 hours easy if he kept up with oil changes. And Derek did, because that tractor had made him money every single year he owned it. Bought it for $87,000. 14 years later, it was still worth $52,000 on a good day. He'd put maybe $18,000 into repairs total over that time. Most of it maintenance, 1 clutch, 1 set of rear tires. The math worked, but the neighbors noticed. Clay Henniger owned the Case IH dealership 2 towns over in Windsor. He also farmed 1,800 acres. Good operator, tight with money, ran newer iron but never overspent. Clay had known Derek since high school. They weren't close. But they saw each other at the co-op, the diner, the seed dealer. Small-town farm country means you're never more than 2 conversations away from anyone who matters. And for the last 3 years, every time Clay saw Derek, he said the same thing. "You still running that old Massey?" Not mean, just persistent, like he was genuinely concerned. Like he was watching Derek leave money on the table and couldn't stay quiet about it. October 2023. Harvest was winding down. Derek pulled into the co-op to settle his fertilizer bill. Clay was there filling his diesel truck. He saw the 7720 idling in the lot and walked over. "Derek, serious question. When are you going to pull the trigger on something new?" Derek climbed down from the cab. "It runs fine, Clay. I didn't say it doesn't run. I said it's old. You're losing efficiency, fuel burn, resale value drops every year. You know that. I also know my payment's 0. Clay smiled, not condescending, just confident. "Yeah, and your repair bills aren't. How much you spend this year keeping that thing going?" "Maybe $4,000. Hoses, filters, normal stuff." "And next year?" Derek didn't answer. Clay leaned against the 7720's rear tire. "Look, I'm not trying to sell you, but I've got a Magnum 340 on the lot right now. 2022 left over, 340 horsepower, 600 hours, full warranty, auto guidance ready. I can get you 0% for 60 months if you move before November." "I don't need 340. The Massey's got 210 and it handles everything I throw at it." "You don't need it now, but what about when you take on that Kern ground?" Derek stopped. The Kern ground. Ray Kern was 76. No kids. Everyone knew he was selling. 320 acres. Beautiful dirt, flat, tiled, right next to Derek's home place. Derek had been thinking about it for months. Clay saw the hesitation and kept going. "You get that ground. You're pushing 2,800 acres. You really want to do that with a tractor that's got 9,000 hours and no factory support anymore?" "It's got support. I can get parts. Used parts. Salvage yards. You know what I mean." Derek felt something shift, not panic, just the faint hum of doubt. He'd been confident 30 seconds ago. Now he was doing math in his head. Clay straightened up. "Tell you what, Come by the lot Saturday. Just look at it. No pressure. I'll even give you a trade number on the Massey. You don't like it, we shake hands and you go home." Derek nodded. He told himself it was just looking. Saturday morning. Derek drove to Windsor. The Case dealership sat on 4 acres right off Route 16. 40 tractors on the lot. Everything from small utility rigs to articulated 4-wheel drives. Clay met him at the gate. The Magnum 340 was parked front and center, gleaming red. Not a scratch. The kind of machine that looks like it's moving even when it's sitting still. Derek walked around it slowly. The cab was massive. Leather seat, touchscreen display, factory guidance receiver, LED light package. Everything. Clay climbed up and started it. The engine barely made a sound. "Hop in." Derek climbed into the cab. It smelled new. The seat adjusted 12 ways. The controls were intuitive. The visibility was flawless. Clay let him sit there for a minute before saying anything. Then, "I'll give you 52 for the Massey Ferguson." Derek blinked. 52? That's top of the market for a 7720 with that many hours. I'm not lowballing you. Check Tractor House. You won't find a better number. Derek knew he was right. What's the Magnum? Stickers 198. But I'll do 185 if you commit today. 0%. 60 months. That's 3,100 a month. Derek's chest tightened. 3,100 a month. He could do it. Barely. If corn stayed above $4.80, if yields held, if nothing broke. But that was the gamble, wasn't it? Clay kept talking. You take the Kern ground, you're going to need horsepower, you're going to need reliability, and you're going to need a machine that holds value. This does all three. Derek stared at the touchscreen. He thought about the 7720 sitting back at his farm. Faded paint, leaking hydraulics, 9,000 hours. It had never let him down, but it was old. And old doesn't win anymore. Clay leaned back in the cab. Derek, I'm not pushing you, but I've seen this play out 100 times. Guys hold on to old iron because it's paid off. Then something big breaks and they're scrambling. Borrowing against next year's crop to fix a tractor that's worth less than the repair. You're smarter than that. Derek felt the weight of it, the logic, the pressure, the fear of being the guy still limping along while everyone else moved forward. He looked at Clay. Give me the papers. The deal closed the following Tuesday. Derek signed 73 pages. Trade-in value, $52,000. Purchase price, $185,000. Down payment, $15,000 cash. Financed amount, $133,000 at 0% over 60 months. Monthly payment, $2,216. The Massey Ferguson 7720 got loaded onto a transport that afternoon. Derek watched it roll off his farm. 14 years, 9,000 hours. Never missed a day. Gone. The Case Magnum 340 arrived 3 days later. It looked incredible in his machine shed. Part 2. The Foundation. Let's go back. Because this story doesn't start the day Derek signed the papers. It starts years earlier, when his father, Eugene Holloway, sat him down in that same machine shed and told him something Derek didn't understand until it was too late. Derek was 23 years old, fresh out of Iowa State with an ag business degree and a head full of modern ideas. His father, Eugene, was 61, third year battling prostate cancer, still farming full-time, still running the same 3 Massey Ferguson 1080s he'd bought in the early 70s. Those tractors were ancient even then, faded paint, cracked seats, straight pipes that made your ears ring, but Eugene wouldn't replace them. Derek used to argue with him about it. Dad, you're losing time, losing fuel efficiency. These things are dinosaurs. Eugene would just smile and keep greasing Zerks. They still turn dirt, don't they? That's not the point. Then what is? Derek didn't have an answer for that, not one his father would accept anyway. Eugene died in March 1999. The funeral was packed, 400 people. Half the county. At the lunch afterward, Derek overheard 2 older farmers talking by the coffee. Gene ran those Massey Fergusons for 27 years, and he died with 0 debt. Derek had never thought about it that way. His father didn't run old equipment because he was cheap. He ran it because it was paid for, because every dollar he didn't spend on a tractor payment went into the ground, into better seed, into tile. Into the next generation, Derek inherited the farm free and clear. No land debt, no equipment debt, just 3 worn-out Massey Ferguson 1080s and 2,400 acres of opportunity. He sold the 1080s at auction for $11,000 total. Then he bought the 7720 used, paid cash, learned how to fix it himself, and for 19 years he ran that farm the way his father had, lean, disciplined, profitable, until he forgot why that mattered, the shift. The breaking point wasn't the trade-in deal, it was 3 years earlier. COVID grain market surge, corn hit $6.40, beans hit $14. Every farmer Derek knew was making money, and every farmer Derek knew was buying equipment, new planters, new combines, new tractors. The Case dealership had a waiting list. John Deere couldn't keep 8R series tractors on the lot, and Derek, he kept running the 7720. At first he felt smart. Everyone else was leveraging up during a boom, and he was just banking profit. But then the comments started. At the co-op, you gonna run that Massey till the wheels fall off? At the diner, heard you're still making money with that old red tractor. Most guys would have upgraded by now. At the seed dealer, Derek's got the only tractor in the county that's old enough to vote. They weren't mean. They were just noticing. And in a small farm town, being noticed for running old equipment feels different than being noticed for being smart. It feels like being left behind. Derek started seeing it everywhere. His neighbor's new iron, shiny, powerful, capable, and his 7720, faded, functional, paid off. The math still worked, but the optics didn't, and somewhere in those 3 years, Derek stopped farming for the numbers. He started farming for the respect. That's what made him vulnerable when Clay Henniger started talking. The unraveling, spring 2024, Derek took delivery of the Kern ground, 320 acres at $375 per acre cash rent. That was $120,000 a year in rent alone. He needed this to work. The Magnum performed beautifully during planting. Smooth, powerful, quiet. The guidance system made 16-row planting feel effortless. Derek finished his entire operation 4 days faster than the previous year. At the diner, guys noticed. That new Case treating you right? Yeah, it's a monster. He felt good saying it, like he'd made the right call, like everyone could see he wasn't stuck in the past anymore. June came. Corn looked strong. Beans were clean. Then July. Derek was running the Magnum on a grain cart during wheat harvest when the DEF system threw a warning light. He shut down. Restarted. Light stayed on. He called the Case dealership. Bring it in. Probably just a sensor. He hauled it to Windsor on a trailer. 3 days later, Clay called. It's the DF injector. Warranty covers it, but the part's on back order. Maybe 2 weeks. Derek's stomach dropped. 2 weeks? I've got side dressing starting Monday. I know. We're pushing the supplier. That's the best I can do. Derek rented a tractor from a neighbor to get through side dressing. Cost him $1,800. The Magnum came back 17 days later. Ran fine for 6 weeks. Then in late August, right before fall harvest, the CVT transmission started slipping under load. Warning lights, reduced power. Derek limped it back to the shop. This time it wasn't a sensor. It was internal. Transmission rebuild. Warranty covered parts, but labor ran $4,700 because the dealership had to send it to a Case-certified tech 2 hours away. Derek paid it. The Magnum came back in mid-September. He lost 8 days of harvest window. His corn sat in the field while neighbors finished. By the time he got rolling again, 2 rainstorms had pushed moisture up and damaged test weight on 60 acres. He lost $11,000 in dockage. November 2024, corn prices dropped. Futures that had been sitting at 485s in the spring fell to 420 by harvest. Derek's yields were good. But the revenue wasn't there. He ran the numbers in his office one night. Gross revenue, $680,000. Input costs, seed chemicals, fertilizer, fuel, $410,000. Land rent, including Kern ground, $295,000. Equipment payment, Case Magnum, $26,592 annually. Insurance, property tax, MISC, $18,000. Total expenses, $749,592. Loss, $69,592. He stared at the screen. One bad year shouldn't break a farm, but one bad year with a $2,200 a month tractor payment hits different. He called his lender in December. I need to restructure. The bank agreed to extend some operating notes into the next crop year, but they flagged his file. Derek knew what that meant. The breaking point, spring 2025. Derek planted with the Magnum. It ran flawlessly this time. He started to believe he'd turned the corner. Then, May 10th, He was pulling a 12-row planter through the North 40 when the Magnum's engine lost power. No warning light, just a sudden drop in RPM. He stopped. Restarted. Nothing. The engine cranked but wouldn't fire. He called Clay. Sounds like a fuel system issue. I'll send a tech. The tech arrived 4 hours later. Spent 90 minutes diagnosing high-pressure fuel pump failure, not covered under warranty. Classified as contaminated fuel damage. Derek had his fuel tested. It came back clean, didn't matter. Case denied the claim. Repair cost $14,300. Derek didn't have it. He put it on a credit card. The Magnum was down for 11 days. He missed his planning window on 200 acres. Those acres went in late. Yield suffered. Here's what Derek didn't calculate when he signed those papers. The Magnum 340 wasn't just a $2,016 monthly payment. It was a $2,216 monthly obligation. The Massey Ferguson 7720 had cost him roughly $320 per month over 14 years. When you averaged out purchase price, repairs, and depreciation, the Magnum cost him $2,216 per month before repairs. That's $1,896 per month in additional fixed cost, $22,752 per year. Derek farmed 2,400 acres when he bought the Magnum. That meant he needed to generate an additional $9.40 per acre in profit just to cover the payment difference. And that assumed zero additional repairs, zero downtime, zero market price drops, zero yield loss. In a perfect year, he could have absorbed it. But farming doesn't give you perfect years. It gives you variables. And when you're leveraged, variables kill you. By October 2025, Derek was behind on everything. Equipment payment, 2 months late. Fertilizer bill, unpaid. Seed dealer, sent to collections. His lender called him in for a meeting. They sat across a desk in a conference room that smelled like stale coffee. The loan officer slid a paper across the table. Derek, we've carried you as long as we can. You're $68,000 behind across multiple accounts. We need a plan. Derek's hands shook. I'll sell some equipment. I've got the 6480. I can move that. That tractor's collateral on your operating line. You can't sell it without our approval. Then what do you want me to do? The loan officer leaned back. We want you to consider a voluntary liquidation. Controlled sale. We work with you. You walk away with whatever's left. It's better than a forced auction. Derek felt the room tilt. I'm not liquidating. Then you need to bring us $70,000 in the next 60 days, or we move forward without you. Derek left the bank and sat in his truck for 20 minutes. He couldn't breathe right. He called Clay that night. I need to know what you'd give me for the Magnum. Silence on the other end. Then, Derek, what's going on? Just tell me. I'd have to look at it. But that model year with those hours, maybe 130, 135 if it's clean. Derek's throat closed. He owed $106,000 on it. If he sold it for $135,000, he'd clear $29,000, not even half of what he owed the bank. Forget it. He hung up. December 2025. The bank filed notice. Voluntary liquidation rejected. Foreclosure proceedings initiated. Derek tried to fight it. But the numbers didn't lie. The auction was scheduled for February 14, 2026, Valentine's Day. The auction. The morning of the sale, Derek stood in his machine shed and watched the auction company tie numbers to everything. The Case Magnum 340, lot number 12, the Massey Ferguson 6480, lot number 9, his grain cart, lot number 18, his planter, lot number 20. 200 people showed up, neighbors, dealers, investors, scrappers. Some came to buy, some came to watch. The auctioneer was a guy named Vernon Staggs. He'd been running farm auctions for 38 years. He'd seen this exact scenario 40 times. Good farmer, bad timing. Over-leveraged, the pattern never changed. The auctioneer started at 9 a.m. Lot number 12 came up at 10:40. Next up, folks, we've got a 2022 Case IH Magnum 340. Low hours, full factory options. Let's start the bidding at $100,000. A hand went up in the back. 100, now 105, now 110. The bidding stalled at $128,000. Sold. The auctioneer's gavel cracked. Derek watched a farmer from 2 counties oversign the slip. That tractor had cost him everything, and it sold for $57,000 less than he'd paid. 3 weeks later, Derek was renting a house in town. The farm was gone. The equipment was gone. 18 years of building gone. He got a job driving truck for a fertilizer company. $19 an hour. One Tuesday morning in March, he was making a delivery to a farm outside Taylorville. He pulled into the driveway and saw a tractor in the field, red Massey Ferguson. He got out and walked closer. It was a 7720, same year as his, same configuration. He walked up to the farmer. "That your Massey?" The guy nodded. "Yep, bought it at an estate sale a few years back. Thing's got 9,200 hours and it still runs like new." Derek felt something crack inside his chest. "How much you pay for it?" $52,000. Derek stood there, 52,000. The exact number Clay had given him for his. This farmer bought one just like it. And he was still farming. Derek walked back to his truck. He didn't say anything else. What happened to the 7720? Let's follow Derek's tractor. Clay Henniger's dealership transported it to their used lot in Windsor. They cleaned it up, fixed the hydraulic leak, replaced the cab door seal, listed it for $58,000. It sat on the lot for 6 weeks. Then a young farmer named Travis Beckman came in looking for a reliable workhorse. Travis was 29. Farming 800 acres, renting, bootstrapping everything, he had $50,000 cash saved. Clay showed him a newer tractor first. A 2018 model with lower hours and a payment plan. Travis shook his head. "I don't want a payment. What have you got that I can buy outright?" Clay walked him over to the 7720. Travis climbed in, started it, let it idle, drove it around the lot. Then he looked at Clay. "I'll give you 50. I'm in it for 52. 51, and I'll take it today." Clay nodded. Travis drove the 7720 off the lot that afternoon. He's still running it. 3 years later, 12,000 hours now, he's added 640 acres, bought a used 8-row planter, a used grain cart, a used disc, everything paid for in cash. Last year, he cleared $110,000 profit. This year, he's looking at buying his first 80 acres. He was at a farm auction last month and saw a Massey Ferguson 8S 205 he liked. He's got $73,000 saved. He'll probably buy it cash next spring. Travis doesn't know Derek Holloway. He doesn't know the 7720 he's running used to belong to a guy who lost everything. He just knows it starts every morning. And that's all that matters. The last conversation, September 2026. Derek was driving his fertilizer truck through Shelbyville on a delivery run. He hadn't been. Back in 7 months, he stopped at a Casey's for coffee. Clay Henniger walked in. They made eye contact. Clay hesitated, then walked over. Derek. Clay. Awkward silence. Clay shifted his weight. "Look, man, I heard what happened. I'm sorry." Derek just stared at him. Clay kept going. "I wasn't trying to bury you. That deal was solid. The market just... The deal was fine," Derek interrupted. "The tractor was fine. I made the choice." Clay nodded slowly. Derek poured his coffee. "You still got that 7720? Derek asked. "Sold it. Kid from Moaqua bought it." "He like it?" "Last I heard, yeah, runs it full time." Derek felt something twist in his chest. He paid for his coffee and walked out. Clay stood there for a minute. Then he left too. They never spoke again. Epilogues. Spring 2027. Travis Beckman planted all 1,440 acres with the Massey Ferguson 7720. 13,000 hours now. Still running. He did have to replace the water pump in April. Cost him $480 in parts. Fixed it himself in his shed on a Sunday afternoon. Took 3 hours. He posted a photo of it on Facebook with the caption, "Old iron, new crop. Let's go." 63 people liked it. One of them was a farmer named Jeff Coaster, the guy who bought Derek's Case Magnum at auction. Jeff had sold the Magnum 6 months after buying it, said it spent more time in the shop than in the field. He replaced it with a Massey Ferguson 8S 265. Jeff commented on Travis's post, "Massey Ferguson runs forever if you let it." Travis didn't know the history. He just knew it was true. Somewhere in town, Derek Holloway saw the post. He stared at the photo for a long time. That was his tractor, his father's purchase, his 19-year workhorse. And it was still out there, still working, still making someone money, just not him. He closed the app and went back to work. There's a Case IH Magnum 340 for sale right now in Southern Illinois. Low hours, full options, clean, asking price $135,000. It's been on the market for 9 months. And there's a Massey Ferguson 7720 running outside of Moaqua. 14,000 hours, worth maybe $48,000 on a good day. The owner gets offers twice a year. He turns them all down. Because he's learned what Derek Holloway forgot. The best tractor you'll ever own is the one that's paid for when the market turns. Eugene Holloway understood that. He ran those 1080s for 27 years, not because he loved old iron, but because every dollar he didn't spend on a payment was a dollar he still had when everything went wrong. Derek forgot that, and it cost him everything. The Massey Ferguson 7720 didn't fail. The decision did. And once the bank takes your farm, it doesn't matter how much horsepower you had. It just matters that you're gone.